He catch that fish yet? Their book.
Oh, yeah, he did.
It's a happy ending.
Not exactly. The old man met his greatest adversary just when he thought that part of his life was over.
Why didn't he just let the fish go?
Old man's got to be the old man, fish has got to be the fish. Got to be who you are in this world, right? No matter what.
Yo, Pop, bet you didn't have to push no dollies at your old job, did you?
Guilty as charged. Can you do a refund for me when you're done?
Open the register up right now. Move. Give me that ring.
No, it was my mother. Please.
It's okay, Jenny.
What's she knowing about?
It is about a guy who's a knight in shining armor, except he lives in a world where knights don't exist anymore.
My ring.
Think you can be anything you want to be. Change your world. I promised I would never go back to being that person. But when somebody does something unspeakable to someone you hardly knew, you do something about it. Because you can. I'm here about a girl. 16 seconds. Seconds.
You didn't take out 5 pimps. You took out the East Coast hub of the Russian mafia.
A man with his skill. I want to know who he really is.
He won't stop until he kills you and anyone you care about.
This goes all the way to the top.
Had enough? Because I can keep going. Brick by brick, body by body.
What do you see when you look at me?
What do you see when you look at me?
It's too late to start over. Let's over here. This is the only thing I know.
Welcome back to Reels, Booze, and Bros. If this is your first time tuning in, I encourage you to subscribe to the show so you can hear all the fun episodes we have created and for future shows coming up. For everyone else, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes or any other listening platform that you listen to our show on. The reason why? Because it helps us know what you like and want so we can bring better content to you. Lastly, check out our website, reelsboozebros.com. That's again, reelsboozebros.com. On our website, you can find all of our social media there, links, and some more great content that goes along with the show. Now, on to Reels, Booze, and Bros. I'm your host, Jay. I got Brian, Nick, the original trio, the Triumvirate, and super fan, real bro, Kev. We're gonna wrap it up here with this movie trilogy. Again, last episode was Man on Fire, and I said we're gonna wrap it up with the Equalizer. But first, let's get on to the booze. Dun dun dun. Okay, I don't know. Kev, why don't you see? Brian brought this booze. Excuse me. So, what do you think of this? A little from Kane Brewery.
Yeah, so this is Bright in the Corners from Kane Brewing. It's a oat Indian pale ale. So it's going to be the same problem that we've had with previous ones, where it doesn't really taste that much like an IPA.
No,
the one we had last week definitely had that IPA flavor, but this is pretty smooth. Yeah, it's probably going to be problematic as we continue through the podcast.
It is. I remember last week.
It's 7.4%. So
we finished the show. I was like, man, I'm a little more drunk than I should be. So yeah,
good thing you didn't have to drive home.
No, that guy. Yeah, this podcast is at my house tonight.
Yeah, no, this is. I like this beer. It's nice, smooth, easy to drink. You know, just like Kev said, you wouldn't know it's that a high of a percentage of a beer. Just feels like a nice normal beer where you're just going to be able to sit and drink back on a Sunday afternoon and just watch some games. So, yeah, this could be interesting the rest of the podcast.
Do you think it's our tolerance that went up that we can handle these beers, or the fact that we have been doing a couple episodes now? So I gotta say, Nick, any thoughts on this beer we got going on?
I got nothing really to add. It's a good beer. I'm enjoying it, and it is going down smooth for sure. I'm not going to complain about. I know you guys seem to be complaining about the bitterness being lacking, but I'm not complaining about that.
No, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying normally, like when you hear IPA, you figure you're gonna get that like little extra like taste in there, and you just but you don't get it on the past few that we had, which is I guess like
these are the ones that I really like. It gives you that upfront, but it doesn't linger.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Agreed.
Yeah, like a one night stand right there, and then it doesn't linger, and you're gone.
I don't know. Sometimes that one night stand can linger.
See you in 9 months, pal.
I was thinking like, what was it? The Hangover? Crabs? That shit stays with you forever.
This is true. Got to hit him with the special shampoo.
Shave and hit the shampoo. Okay, now let's reel it back in. All right, The Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington. Again, we're going to wrap it up with The Equalizer, and it's our first segment of this trilogy, picking up with Denzel Washington. So here's a little background on the movie. So The Equalizer is a 2014 American vigilante action directed by Antoine Fuqua. Again, the same guy who did Training Day. These two reunited for this film. It is loosely based on the 1980s TV series of the same name. Written by Richard Wenk, it stars Denzel Washington, Martin Sikoss, Chloe Grace Moretz, David Harbour, Bill Pullman, and Melissa Leo. The film focuses on a former U.S. Marine turned DIA intelligence officer who reluctantly returns to action to protect a teenage prostitute from the members of the Russian Mafia. Equalizer had its world premiere at 2014 Toronto International Film Festival on September 7th, 2014, and was released worldwide on September 26, 2014. In conventional IMAX theaters, it received mixed reviews from critics who praised the visual style, acting, soundtrack, and action sequences, but criticized its violence and plot. Nonetheless, it became a commercial success with a worldwide gross of over $192 million on a production budget of, this is interesting, $55 to $73 million. Unsure, it's somewhere in that range is how much the movie was made. So
I gotta just
go ahead.
Quick side tangent on that. The music was one of the things that they thought was really good with that movie.
Yes, the soundtrack. The only thing was critics were like the violence and the plot.
So for me, I didn't even notice the soundtrack until the very end, that last scene, and I was like, oh shit, this is Moby. And I'm like, oh my God, Moby still has songs that are in movies. Aside from that, I didn't even notice the soundtrack.
It was good. It was, they had some other stuff. I think at the credits, they had Eminem was playing.
Yeah, in the credits, Eminem was.
There were a couple of good songs, but it's just that it gets you in. Yeah, I made it to the first 10 seconds of the credits. Anyway. So,
sorry for that tangent.
No, that's quite all right. Any other background on the movie? Anyone else want to throw in there? You think that's it?
Well, the budget must have went to Dan Bilzerian, that fucking dick.
Oh yeah, because he's one of the henchmen. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say the only other thing is this is around the time when there's you have a lot of kind of these lone like the single badass type guy, because this movie's out in 2014. It's the same year as John Wick. Something like it's a different type of movie, but still similar to The Accountant with Ben Affleck 2 years later, where he's like this kind of secret badass also. So I guess it's kind of around the time you get all these lone gunman type guys.
Okay.
That's not the right phrase.
The lone
whatever.
wolf.
That's
right.
Yeah.
The accountant.
Right?
The
ex-military guy who or whatever, and just something happens where the screw goes loose and off they go. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean same thing. Like was it Taken was before this? So,
yeah. Yep.
It's, all these movies come into light in a few years, but this one stands out, and John Wick obviously stands out. So
yep. Okay, so now on to the critics and the reviews of everyone else. So Rotten Tomatoes gives us a 60% on a tomato meter, and the audience score of 76%. IMDb gave it 7.2 out of 10. Metacritic, the Metascore was 57 out of 100, and user score was 6.9 out of 10. So obviously, as I stated earlier, the critics did not like this because it was too violent, bunch of pansies, and the plot wasn't there for them, I guess. So what do you guys think on this?
The too violent, I don't see that as it's too violent. Like it's towards the end, you get a couple bad kills, but it's not like there's blood flying everywhere where it's like, oh my God, or they're fist fighting the whole entire time, and he's cutting people up. Like it does happen, but it's not gruesome where it's to another level.
I would have said Man on Fire was more violent than this.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, cut the fingers off.
You're right. Bomb going off. I mean, it was, and you saw the guy strapped to the car when it went off.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough to say that it was too violent. I don't agree with that. The score for me, I'd probably give this a solid 8.5. I do like this movie a lot with Denzel in there, and he's just Denzel. Obviously, he carries the movie. It's tough to see like anybody else in this sort of role, but like for me, some of the things in there that he does, it's not so much like his acting. It's just like the looks that he gives, like
mannerisms, right?
I've never seen him look crazier in this than in this movie in certain scenes where it's just like, this guy's fucked up. Like, don't mess with this guy. But it's like, dude, they keep going at him, and it's like, you're gonna lose. So that's my takeaway from this with Denzel. Yeah.
Okay, Nick, what do you think?
I agree with the critics. I wasn't really blown away with this. I told you guys in the last one, I never saw it before, so I went into it. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't review what the critics said before, so it's not like I could say it was tainted. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't, I don't know. I didn't think it was Denzel's greatest stuff. It just, it was something that if it's on, I'll keep it on. And if I don't see it again, I don't think I'll be too upset.
I'm not saying it's his greatest stuff. I just like him as a badass in this movie where you're just like, this guy's ain't taking shit. He's fucking people up.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got that going for him in this.
So I agree with Brian. I would give it like around an 8. And I think the difference, the biggest difference for me thinking about this film and then Man on Fire before, is that Man on Fire is really more like it's dialogue driven. It's not really more action. So he's talking to the guy in the car, the guy strapped to the hood of the car, the guy in the club. This one, it's just more about the actual fighting, like what he's actually doing. So there's kind of that takeaway where it doesn't really have, we talked last week that Man on Fire had a lot more dramatic elements. And there's some here at the beginning of this movie. But really after the first fight, which is the only fight that I thought was really over the top violent. The corkscrew was interesting.
Yeah,
that's the only part when I was like, oh, that seems a little excessive, but all right. But but after that, I think this movie, the reason why it's so different is because it's really more focused on those action elements and not so much what the character's trying to get out of it. Because he's not really trying to get information out of a lot of these people. He's just He's just taking them down.
Yeah, exactly. I think the corkscrew was the double tap, as like in Zombieland. So to finish him off on there. Yeah. I want to say, the only thing I agree with on the critics is that the plot wasn't there too much. His motivation he just snapped one day, basically, as opposed to the previous film, as Kevin, you stated, Man on Fire. He built that relationship. This one there is that teenage hooker who gets her ass beat by her pimp, and he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try to buy her freedom, and didn't happen.
No, but he has a relationship with her, though.
Yeah, I guess.
It's not to the extent of the same one as the little girl, where he's, with her every single day, where he, like, de facto becomes her father.
Yeah.
But this one, he does have a relationship.
He does kind of like a guardian angel.
He does.
Yeah.
This one, he felt bad, but then he takes out an entire fucking Russian mafia. Okay. I didn't realize that relationship was that deep.
But he has the power to do something.
In 16 seconds, he predicts.
He was off by another 19 seconds, I think it was.
He's doing the math afterwards.
So, other than that, the action comes on way faster than it does on Man on Fire. So I guess that's why the plot line, but it wasn't as fleshed out as it was on Man on Fire or on Training Day. My opinion, I think that this is Alonzo from Training Day was not killed. That was a fake death. He now goes into hiding and goes get some super, super awesome training. Goes to Man on Fire. He is now in Mexico City because he gets all fucked up, everything going on for the stuff he happened.
Feels bad about the death of his wife, Eva Green, from Training Day. We don't know what happened to her. We don't see him die in Man on Fire. His hand just leaves from the pendant. Okay, so he possibly made it. And those cops rescued him. And now he's like, I need a new life. Let me go back. He starts all over, gets married. His wife dies, shaves his head. He's like, now I have the power to do something. I'm going to do something good. And this is now the Equalizer.
So are you trying to apply the DC New World theory of single verse into the Denzel Washington movies?
There
was no different worlds. There was no different movies. It was all one person.
It's different Denzel.
Because that's what it sounds like you're doing.
It is.
Okay.
Even though we do see him get, I don't know, probably 7 AKs, 30 rounds into him. So what's the math on that? So 7 times 30? Was that 210 bullets?
It's a lot.
So around there.
I said we never see his corpse at the end of Training Day.
Thank
He's
you.
shot. If he can, what's the one guy that gets shot in, I can't remember the movie we did. Oh, and when we did Zombieland, they said they'd look at Bill Murray. I don't know if I can be able to patch this up. Yeah. maybe in Training Day they did patch it up.
They did. That's a lot of bullets, but you know what? Okay, so that's my theory.
It didn't hit nothing important.
That's what we got going on for there. Okay, so we got our thoughts on there, and we're gonna take a quick short break. We're going to continue on with the mead of the podcast. I'm trying to, that sounds stupid, but I'll see if I can keep that going on. Which you always know, favorite scenes are quotes, and get into it. And then the awards.
Did somebody bring mead to drink?
No, I didn't, but I'm trying something out different.
Don't tease me. I like mead.
One day we'll have it. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. The two most important days in your life are the day you were born, the day you found out why. Opening credits. That's with Mark Twain. Okay. Reels, Booze, and Bros. RB2. We are back. Let's start it off. Favorite scenes. Let's get right into it. Anyone want to throw it out there? Kev, what you got there for favorite scenes?
All right, so I just have a couple here that I'll go over for now, but the first one that I'm looking at is the first scene where he goes into the office of the restaurant. So it's a scene where he's trying to buy Alina's freedom, or what's the other name they give, like Tina or something like that? I know Alina's one of the
Terry.
names. Terry is the other name, right?
Yes.
Sorry. That's really the first scene where we know nothing about Denzel going into that scene at all. We're under the impression he's really just there to try to buy her freedom, which I imagine was probably his first plan. And then when it didn't work, that's when shit hit the fan. And like we mentioned before, in Man on Fire, it's a lot more kind of like dialogue-driven torture. And this one, it's just, you see that when he goes to the door, and I'm still trying to figure out what he's doing at the actual door when he's like playing with it. I don't know if he's testing the lock, the sturdiness of the door.
No, so I can speak to that because I actually did have this marked as one of my scenes too. That's actually an OCD thing. He was counting the number of times he opened the door.
Oh, okay.
So that was part of his OCD.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
So he's doing that. And with his OCD also, you see right before he's like playing with the skull decorations on the desk and like spacing them out and things like
But
that. So
also
it
at
makes
the
sense.
same time, like, because I have this in one of my scenes too, like, I think he's also like, if things go wrong, like, he's setting everything in place to like, this is where I'm going to grab
Exactly
this,
how he wants everything.
So like, this big guy, this skull's going to go here, this little skull's going to go here, I'm going to do this, because until you watch a scene, you don't realize how fucking calculated this guy is and knows everything. But when you're saying with the door thing, I thought it was like he was just trying to say like, I'm going to give them one more chance, and just be like, maybe one more time.
When I mentioned it, I thought, like I said, the sturdiness of the door, I was wondering if he was thinking, how sturdy is the lock in case someone tries to kick it in from the outside after he locks. That's the only thing that I could think of. But
it's only because of with the lights. If you notice, he does a lot of things
he does
with
that
the lights
yeah,
too.
you're right. Yeah.
So,
right.
Oh, okay.
That's what made me think that, that's the tendency of an OCD. Anybody, you'd see anybody who's really got the bad OCD like he does, where you saw like a little bit, like when he'd sit down and
the
had the same
table.
routine.
The napkin has to be in the right spot.
The pristine apartment, like all those things were part of the OCD. So that I didn't even think twice about the door thing. To me, that was just another tick of his.
Gotcha. I'm sold.
Yeah, and which like it just like that is like when he did that, and then he started like calculating everything. I'm like, this is his OCD is what makes him this efficient like
killer.
Yeah, I guess that's the way to say it. I guess a killer.
I guess he has to have everything planned out to the specific details.
Right.
No mistake made.
That's what it was because then Kev speak on the rest of it, but. Like, the killing is the best part of that part.
Yeah. So there's that, even that, even before that, the dialogue leading into it when he's talking to the head gangster and he tries to buy, I just like we'll get into quotes. It's not my favorite quote, but he's like, well, why don't you go home and jerk off 9,800 times then? So, and you can see he's sitting there, he's like, I'm going to give you one more chance, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when everything goes down. So I just like that scene. It's really the first like window into what his character is going to be like the rest of the way.
Yeah, what he's capable of.
Yeah, and there's other action sequences that I don't have, but they're all still good. There's more the favorite ones that I had. From there, when he actually, after Nikolai actually comes in, I like that first meeting with the corrupt cop and the people that are there. But the first scene I really enjoyed Nikolai in was when he goes to the Irish contractor's office, basically. And again, very similar to what we saw with Denzel. We don't know what Nikolai's really capable of. He talks to the guys, and you can tell that he just dresses the one guy down. He's like, well, if you guys knew what you were doing, wouldn't have these problems, basically. So
yeah. Don't call him Little John.
Yeah. So he goes to the guy's office. He's basically like, we give you guys take 15%. We know you're stealing 10% anyway. He's like, you're all a bunch of rats, the Irish. He's like, he tells him not to call him Little John, does it 2 different times, and he just goes to town on his face basically after that. So
and that's again,
so before that we can see, we can see beforehand that he can talk a good game to the guys that are there, and that's when you see that he also has some shit that he can do.
Yeah.
We learn later on that he's some sort of like Russian military, background also, so it plays into with Denzel. So they're pretty good foils for one another in that regard. So I just like that first scene where we see him doing that. With that, I'll move on. The first scene where they basically meet then also. So it's when Nikolai goes to his apartment. It's a very short scene, but when Nikolai goes to the apartment and is in the stairwell pretending to be a police officer. I also thought it was funny because he has a terrible fake American accent he's trying to pull off. It reminded me of Jeremy Irons in Die Hard with a Vengeance, where he's pretending to be a cop that goes to the whatever it is in Fort Knox. Why am I saying Fort Knox? That's what they joke about. Wherever it is. Yeah, the Treasury in New York. I can't think of the name of it offhand. But yeah, so he has that fake American accent he's trying to pull off. And you can just see when you mentioned that how calculated Denzel is and he looks kind of crazy. I actually thought he's incredibly confident throughout the movie. When he shows up, he's just smiling. He's like, yeah, I was there. It's like, I figured that's why you're here, right? It's like, how'd you find me, by the way? It's like, paid cash, didn't have a reservation. He's just smiling the entire time. And you can tell Nikolai knows, like, all right, obviously this guy knows his shit. So he knows that he's not going to get anything past him, basically. He's like, yeah, I know you're here. He's like, I was there. It's like, it makes sense. That's why you're here, right?
Where's your card?
Are you supposed to leave me a card in case I think of something later?
They're at this point, they're both like sizing each other up. Like, I'm on to you, you're on to me. Like, something's going to happen, real soon. So let's figure this out.
That's right. Shake your dicks. This pissing contest is over.
So I'll just do two more then. So I also like the restaurant meeting between Nikolai and McCall. After basically most everything is done, when he actually shows up and puts the broken glasses on the table and then throws it in his drink afterwards.
Your man's not coming back.
Yeah. The dialogue there is great. He tells that story about the Russian orphan, which I don't know if I was thinking about it too much, but I feel like he's basically telling him his life story, right?
I concluded to that too.
Yeah.
Because then he's
just showing him that he knows more about him than he probably thinks.
He's like, what did he say? You don't know me?
He says something at the end, yeah.
Like Nikolai says something like that. It's like, you don't know me? You don't know what I've come from? Or something along the lines of that, but it sounds very similar. He's like, listen, you done your homework on me, but I've done my homework on you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And then just the last scene I have, I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we go through, but the last full action scene in Home Art, basically. So that's, like you said, there's a lot of kind of over-the-top deaths there. The barbed wire, whatever that pruning instrument was, he stabbed through the guy's neck.
How did he get that pallet to fall?
So it was attached to a bag of sandpaper. Not sandpaper. Concrete, excuse me. Sandpaper. So it was attached. You can see he pushes the concrete mix off, and that's what makes the barbed wire noose. I don't know how the barbed wire noose got attached to the guy in the first place. That I didn't quite see.
Well, he had to be up top, so I don't know if he
somehow dropped it down and then shoved the thing off. Yeah, that I don't know.
That's the only thing I can think
Most
of.
likely he dropped it down as the guy was walking, and he like turned into it because it was big enough of a loop, and it just went as he pulled it together. So.
Yeah, so those are the scenes I had. Like I said, they're all basically the action scenes. There's some good dialogue here and there in some of them as well, so I'm sure we'll get to more of them in depth later. But those are the basic scenes that I had for my favorite scenes.
All right, on to the next one. Nick, what do you think?
So I had basically what Kevin had, but I have one more to add on the scenes, and that's the one when Denzel goes to see his old handler, and I like that scene for a couple of reasons. The first was that it had Bill Pullman, and I'm just ever since The Sinner, I'm like loving Bill Pullman even more and more.
We will not go quiet into the night.
Yeah. But anyways, what I liked about it is like when the scene first started and he gets to the house, you think Bill Pullman was the handler. Like you knew it had to be his handler. Like you could assume that, and the assumption automatically was that it was Pullman. And it's not until the wife goes into the room separately with Denzel that you find out it was the wife that was his handler. And so I thought that was great. And then when he finally left and Pullman says, is he going to be okay? Did he ask, are you going to be able to help him? And the wife is like, he wasn't coming for help. He wasn't asking for help. He was asking for permission. Like just that whole awesome. Thing. I was like, right like that whole thing from the start to the finish, the way they did that, I just thought it was a great job.
And plus, because that scene, that if someone's testicles get blown off, that's typical Russian mob. That's the Russian mob.
Something
That's
learned.
The Russian mob calling card.
And shoved down their throats.
So, yes.
So that was the mob hit. The only thing that I have to add to that, as far as scenes go, is I have the one that's the interrogation of Masters at his house. So when Denzel goes to see, the lead detective, and this is right after the whole Russian, they're killing the other cops, and he's just like, hiding out, smoking cigarettes fucking all day long. And he just looks like he's been on a bender sweating. And then how calculated he is with the whole thing. And he just sets him up with getting to come out to the garage, and because the car alarm's going off, and then just beats him up, ties him to the steering wheel, and just force feeds the gas down his throat. And he's just like, but it's just like to see like the depths that he's willing to do. And obviously this isn't his first rodeo, that he's done all this shit before. It's just like, this fucking guy fucking knows everything. Like, he's so good and he's so calm. He's just sitting there like, I got all day.
He's got his lawn chair out. He's having a good time.
He's like, I got all day.
But you don't.
Yeah.
That's why right there, that was Man on Fire.
Yeah.
That was our boy.
I have that.
I got all the time.
That was Creasy.
I have that as one of my quotes. But back to the first scene that we're talking about, and I call it like the offer scene. So like that's with the $9,800. Just when he's looking at him as the guy saying no, because I feel like Denzel's just getting so pissed off when the guy keeps saying $9,000, and you just see his face just like, this motherfucker's $9,000, not $9,800, $9,000, like, and you could just see him just start to like kind of like get angrier, but he's just like, okay, and that's when you start to see him move the
skulls.
The skulls.
I know
around.
at least one of them is a skull.
Yeah.
Might be all of them, but
I think they're all
Yeah.
skulls, but just.
I mean, at one point he arranged them so they were all on a line.
Yeah, but then he
and
moves
then once
them after that.
once he gets pissed, that's when he's like, this is gonna be you. This is gonna be you.
Exactly.
This is
Like
gonna be
he
you."
has the whole thing how he's gonna kill all 5 of these guys, and how he does it was fucking sick. Like when he slams that door, and then in my theory, like when someone sees that happen, like the rest of them, like if they didn't shoot him right then and there, I'm like, you gotta have a feeling like this guy's gonna fucking kill us all, because no normal person is gonna take that odds of like 1 on 6.
Yeah.
Just be like, and he has no weapon on him that they know of.
I'm gonna lock the door.
Yeah. Like if they didn't shoot him right then and there in the back of the head, which they could have easily done, it's like, fuck. Everything just totally went to shit. But it was great. I mean, when he beats the guy up and then when he tells him, like, he's like, I understand. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. So I truly love that scene. So that's like probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. But like the killings.
Whoa, that's a spoiler right there.
No, I'm sorry. I got all
come
excited.
on.
he said probably. He could change his mind.
Oh, jeez.
I got excited.
You gotta
I'm
give him the
sorry.
cliffhangers.
Just like how Alonzo's alive, so.
Yeah. And then I have the last scene for me is like when he meets up with the girl again, and I think she finally does realize that he was the one who did everything for her and helped her out. It's like, oh, it's probably like hush money, but she knows it's him, and he just makes that acknowledgement like, it's your time now, do your thing. So I thought that was cool, and it's a nice embrace. And
Okay, very
Sweet
nice
moment.
to wrap up. It was nice.
Before we move on, I just want to talk about one other thing. I want to go back because Brian brought this on when he was talking about the scene. What's the cop's name? The head detective. What's his?
His name
actor.
in the movie's Masters, but the actor
David Harbour.
Yeah, Harbour.
That's the guy from
Stranger Things.
So let me ask you something, okay? What the hell happened from that movie to Stranger Things that he looked like such a fat slob
He's
in
got
Stranger
the beard
Things?
going, yeah.
Like he looked terrible in Stranger Things. I did not think that this guy would look like a normal human being. Like when I was watching it, I was so amazed that it was that guy. Am I the only one?
No, I recognize him
I'm like
as the
this.
guy.
Like
but
3 years. It was like maybe 3 years later, right?
It's Hollywood, baby. He can look however he wants.
Wow.
He likes Halloween candy. I don't know. That's the best way to describe it. So, but then he's also going to be in the Black Widow movie that should have been released last year. It'll be coming out soon, and he's kind of a little bit more in shape for that. So,
Well, he was also the new.
He's not Fat
Hellboy.
Thor anymore.
he's not Fat Thor. No, he's not Fat Thor. He's also.
He was also the new Hellboy,
Oh, was he?
Yes, he
Oh, that I
was.
didn't know.
and he
Okay.
got shredded for that.
He
I
did,
might want
yeah.
to see Hellboy, the new Hellboy now.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if he got shredded, but he got
huge.
in good shape.
I did
That's
say
a
might
lot.
for those listening.
A
I
lot
said
more
might.
violent than the original one. All right, so we're done. We're done with the favorite scenes, guys. We're gonna move on. All right, let's go with the favorite quotes. Kev, we'll head it on back over to you. What you got for us?
All right, so I have, there's some small things that they say early on, like those scenes when they have him basically introducing himself through the characters that are at home art with them. So, it's Ricky, right, is the kid's name that's going to be the security guard?
I think so.
I believe so.
Ricky. So it just says...
No, Ralphie.
Ralphie, sorry.
Ralphie.
So when they pay, they say. So that's the idea. They got the person that comes and wants to expand the driveway. So, just small, that's a customer that's coming in that says that. But he tells him when he's training, progress, not perfection. So that's one thing that he says also. So there's a lot of small quips. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm sure you guys will have a lot of them also. The first quote that stood out to me...
not.
No, well, we'll see. The first quote that stood out to me is when he's actually talking to Alina in the restaurant. They're talking about the old man in the sea. And she's kind of questioning. He's like, oh, what was the point of the whole thing if he didn't actually get the fish at the end? And he just says, the old man got to be the old man. Fish got to be the fish. Got to be who you are in this world no matter what. So, I mean, that's what we're going to see happens. Like, he can sit there and pretend to be this regular guy working at Hallmark, but at the end of the day, he's a killer, basically. And killer got to be a killer. He's got to do what he's got to do. That's the reason why he's in the world, so.
Little foreshadow right there.
But, not to, like, cut you off, what I am, but did you notice that when the movie, like, he can't sleep at night, but when he does go do these mass killings, he sleeps like a baby?
I guess clears the conscience, I guess.
I didn't notice that.
So when you watch it again, you'll be like, the guy can't sleep at night. But then the second he kills everybody, he's in the bed snoring.
I thought you were going to go with what my nitpick was, which it's under the impression he's been reading The Old Man in the Sea for a while because she says, hey, that guy catch that fish yet? The Old Man in the Sea is like 70 pages long, so I don't know what's taking him so long. I read that book in like 3 hours. It's not a long read.
He's thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah.
And going off that, all these things, the books that he's reading also kind of like foreshadow what's going on also, because then he's reading Don Quixote afterwards. And when he's explained the book to her, this is right before she gets beat up. He says, it's about a guy who thinks he's a knight in shining armor. The only thing is he lives in a world where knights don't exist anymore.
That was one for me, too.
So that's another thing where he's basically saying people like me who are out there defending people, we don't exist anymore. And obviously, spoiler, at the very end of the movie, we see this is what he's going to make his new career, basically. He's going to try to be that knight in shining armor for anybody who wants it.
Which I thought was like, I wouldn't say ironic, but it was just like, this is who you are. Like, you're talking about this guy and this is who you are. That's what you think you are, you know?
Yep.
In a
on
world
Craigslist,
where,
nonetheless.
Yeah.
You need help? I got you. Craigslist.
But the cops will never find me.
I mentioned it before. It's not a serious quote, but again, it's right before the shit goes down in the office where he said, it's the Russian mobster goes, take your fucking money and go back to your house and jerk yourself off 9,800 times when he refuses the offer, basically. So it's a funny thing. Plus, it's one of the things I could actually understand because half the time they're speaking in Russian and I'm like, either the sound is bad on what I'm watching or they're speaking Russian. So when I did hear English, my ears would perk up. I'm like, oh, I understand what they're saying now. So there we go. After he comes back later, when he's in back in the store, the guy asks him what happened. He says, I hit it on something stupid. So
yeah,
I got one of those quick little lines. I'll just give a couple more. The Russian mobster, Nikolai. So I have him when he first meets Masters, when they're trying to figure out what they're going to do going forward. And Masters is trying to tell him, we're the ones who are in charge here. Nikolai says, problem that you're having with me is you still think you matter. You don't. I'm all that matters. So good way to introduce him. And again, at that point, he's not doing anything... violent. He's, just talking, and we see it gets violent later, but you just understand that he's in control. And then later on, when he's actually talking to Little John, or it's Little John, right, is what he calls him?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Little John.
In the office, when he's basically just dressing him down before he beats him up, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. After he's talking for a little bit, he looks at him and says, I appreciate your candor. It's refreshing, and lets me understand you're not smart enough to have done this. So that's pretty good. Just when they go and actually go into his house, the one guy just says, the guy lives like a monk. This guy's got a lot of fucking books. So that also. And then later on, we'll get to when McCall is actually now talking back to everyone, saying what he's going to do. And he tells the guy, I can keep going brick by brick, dollar by dollar, body by body, or you can call your boss and tell him to shut down his whole operation. And then right after that, when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too.
Yep, I love that one.
Yeah, so... Those are the lines that Denzel has towards the end. I mean, I have a lot of other things out of here, but I'm sure you guys will go over these as well. But yeah, just a lot of this stands out. It's just interesting dialogue throughout the movie.
Very good. All right, Nick, what you got for us?
I really didn't have much. I really had the quote that Kev already said about the knight in shining armor, and then the one with his handler where he didn't come for help, he came for permission.
Yeah, that's a very good one. I like that one a lot.
Those for me, those were the two that really stuck out.
So, Brian?
So, for me, most of these quotes are pretty much from Denzel because, he's the star of the movie and carries them. So, we already did the progress, not perfection. You got to be who you are in this world no matter what. I like that one. These are all like little lines that he's saying to, to the girl or to Ralphie. Like, he's just trying to pick them up and all that sort of things. The mud one, that's great. I also like the other one from the handler, Susan. She's like, sometimes we make wrong choices to get to the right places. So once again, she's only in the movie for 5 minutes, but it's very important 5 minutes to figure out who he is and like his background, because she's dropping all this knowledge on us with him. So I thought that was another key quote from her. Another one, just change a world. There was the mind, body, spirit. I don't have a lot of time, which means you don't have any. So those were like some really good ones. And then I have the one from Nikolai that I really do like was who I am or what I am. What I am is complicated. What I am is a little easier. I'm a threat. I alter outcomes. So I was like, okay. I'm just saying, hey, I'm a badass and I'm going to fuck some shit up. The other one that I do like from Denzel was I've done some bad things in my life, Nikolai. Things I'm not proud of. I promised someone I love very much that I would never go back to being that person. But for you, I'll make an exception. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's right. Yep, that was in the meeting he had with him at the restaurant.
Yep.
He just killed the other guy.
Yeah, once again, they're still sizing each other up. And it's just like, you're done. Like, you're done. This is me just saying, checkmate, I got you. But that was it. Yep. Those were my quotes.
Okay, I'll throw one in there right there. I want to say it was Ralphie. The now new security guard, when they're at the final thing, he's like, "It's me, Mr. McHale. It's Ralphie. You said not to leave anybody behind." Goes to pick him up. $1.90 my ass. You know, might as well throw a funny one in there. So add on to the serious ones and the badassery we got.
My right toe.
That's all I got. Kevin,
no, there was just one more. I was just reminded of it when Brian was going over that last other quote between Nikolai and Denzel. Also, I had one more that I kind of glossed over. It's when he first leaves the house. After he's like, how'd you find me? You know, I paid cash, didn't have a reservation. When he's leaving, just when Nikolai says it twice, says everything about him is wrong. I just think it's an interesting line because he's like, whatever this guy is, he's not just some schmuck that works at Walmart. Something's got to be up here. It's all the fact that he could recognize right away why Nikolai was there, and Nikolai immediately is just like, oh, he's not just playing games. He knows that I'm not the police, that I'm from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be something else going on here. And even when they're then going over his file, he's like, all this a fabrication.
Yep.
He's like, he knows that this is all just made up bullshit. He's somebody else. So that was something I thought was interesting too.
Yeah, I like that as they size each other up and what's going on. Okay, we got that. Now on to the movie awards. Who wants to nominate best quote? I'll throw mine out there. I want to say it was from obviously Denzel Washington, Robert McCall. He goes, change your world. That's what he did. He was living one world, changed it, and then when he got married to his wife, now he changed it again back to what he was before, and he told that, the prostitute, the young lady, to change her world, and he told everyone he tried to kill, gave him a chance and said, change your world before it all happened.
You think that he changed the world when he got married or when she died?
Both. So he went from being that badass killer in the DIA and all that stuff, and then he got married, and he's like, put it all behind him. He promised his wife.
Yeah,
he tried to continue living that. When she died, he tried to continue that on. I guess because somewhere in the beginning of their relationship, he was like not as bad as he was, but then eventually he's like, he changed in it, and then he continued that on. And then he realized, I'm just going to change my world again I'm going to go back to what I was because now I have a purpose to help people. So, anyone else? I thought that was what it is, but, Brian, you seem to like something else.
Yeah, well, for me, it's tough because I have it down to 3. I like the change your world. I do like the other one with when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too. So I just like how the whole context of that quote was said in the movie. The whole meaning of it too, like you got to deal with the consequences as well. So it's just like, all right, I get it. But the one that I just said with him talking to Nikolai, where he's like, I'm going to make the exception for you, just for me, because it just proves like I'm a badass. I'm going to fucking kill you. And I could do it right now, but I'm not. I'm going to take everybody down. So I just think that was like my favorite quote, and it was just the checkmate.
All right, so Nick, what do you think? Anything you want to throw out there, favorite quote? You want to agree with someone?
I think I got to go with the one where he's talking about, what was it, Don Quixote, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's about a guy who thinks he's got a knight in shining armor. The only thing is he lives in a world where knights don't exist anymore. I think that for me, that's the one that really hit home the most out of all of them. So I'm going to nominate that.
I like that one. Actually, that's pretty much the premise of the movie of what he did.
Right.
So, right. Okay. Kev, what do you think? Something you want to...
So I'm going with a different quote than everyone. So I guess we all have different quotes then. I'm going with the other novel reference. I'm going with the old man in the sea. So I do like the old man got to be the old man, fish got to be the fish, got to be who you are in this world. So I mean, it applies to him because he learns, he's like, all right, if I'm this trained person, this is what my training is for. I can do good with it. It'll lead to what happens at the end of the movie. He says that to Alina because if she wants to be the singer, if you want to be who you're supposed to be in this world, do what you're supposed to be doing then. So like just basically just telling people that whatever your reason for being here is, don't, hide from it, do what you're supposed to do. And I feel like he kind of has, I don't know if respect is the right word, but I think he understands Nikolai. Like the reason why he's there, the reason why he's chasing him is because he's just as much of a badass we're supposed to believe as McCall is. So I think that's why like there's kind of like that cat and mouse kind of like smiling contest between the two of them when they talk. Because I think they both kind of understand. We both know who we're dealing with. These are the people that we are. These are the lives we lead. So that was the quote that stood out to me the most. So.
I think there's 100% respect between the two of them.
Yeah, without a doubt there is. I want to say mine, Nick, and Kev, yours is very similar in the concept of, again, I'm changing my world. He's being what he went to try not to be a killer, so he switched back to, you got to be who you are. So he changed his world on there. And then there's no knights in shining armor in this world, but he is someone like that. So I feel like those are very similar in there. You can kind of combine them to make one super quote, and then we got us all on there. And then just shows how much of a badass he is. Brian, I'll throw your quote in there for the hell of it. So why not? Make you feel included, accepted on here. This is 2021. We have to include everybody nowadays. Okay.
Inclusive.
That's what we got. So maybe I'll throw another Twitter poll out there. The last one, I was there. It was good. So let's see if we can get another good response from the audience and see what they want. If they want to throw us an email us. And so from now we got that. So let's go to Brian's doing the beer sign. Does anyone like another beer? I think I would. And while he's getting that, so we went from best quote now to best scene. I'm gonna nominate the first one was when he's killing the Russians trying to buy the freedom of what's her face? Was it Terry?
Yeah, Terry or
Elena, whatever she wanted to go with that time of the day. That's what I think. A lot of us have talked about it. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, that's my favorite scene in the movie also. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't talked more about the last home art scene. I mean, there's not a lot of dialogue or anything. I mean, it's just an action scene. But no, I really like that scene. Like I said, it sets up everything that we expect. I mean, most people, this movie was pretty well publicized, I think, when it came out. People kind of knew it was an action film with Denzel that was coming out.
Yep.
So you knew it was going to happen eventually. And still, the way he basically plots and plans everything as he's going through works really well in that scene. Just seeing him interact with the guy's basically laughing him, or we think they're laughing him out of the room. But then he comes back. So that's my favorite scene in the movie, and it basically sets forth everything we see for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, you actually really get an idea of how the badassness he is and everything brought together. Nick, what do you think? That scene, you want to nominate someone else, another scene?
It's hard for me to nominate another scene. That was a really good scene. I can't really build on what you guys are saying. You guys really have said it all, so I'm just gonna be the third on.
I mean,
that.
we can just talk about the corkscrew more if we want.
Yeah,
we should break down every killing. Brian, I want to say, you want to agree on this scene or not?
Yeah, for sure. Like I obviously hinted at it that this was my favorite scene. So yes, it is my favorite
change
scene.
it.
Yeah.
Didn't change.
But
you Moby Dick
for me, this also goes down in.
Which I thought that was the book. I didn't realize. I thought that was the book he was reading when she said, "Did the man get the
That's
fish?"
what I thought it was too. I'm like, fucking.
But anyway, sorry, another tangent by me.
So like this goes into like all-time movie scenes, like of one man fighting like a group of people. So like this, John Wick, Taken,
initially unarmed, but doesn't matter.
And what's so amazing about that is that how quickly it was, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so once again, like I said, calculated. We could go over the whole scene again, but I mean,
yes, let's not. So he decides to talk. Buy the freedom with $9,800, not $9,000. You fucking cockbag. He leaves. Does a skull playing thing, goes to the door. It was about 3 times he does the door.
Something like that, yeah.
Then locks it and then turns around. Everyone's laughing at him. And then this is where the cinematography, in my opinion, like throughout the entire film is fantastic because now he hones in. This is where Antoine Fuqua, the director, like zooms in on Denzel's eyes. And it's just like now he's calculating. He moves from there. He moves to certain objects. He sees a shot glass. He sees some corkscrews. He sees the gun that the guy has. He sees what's everything. There's a knife.
The one guy's got the knife in his hand too.
The knife that's going on. And he's like, okay, this is what I can do. And then he talks to himself, muttering, like, you don't see it, but his lips are moving and his eyes are kind of like moving all around. And then he goes, okay, 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Basically, he's like, I can fucking kill him.
And then the time that he starts his stopwatch.
Yes.
And then when he's got the guy, after he thought the guy was probably already dead, or at least when he's not doing anything, the guy that he eventually puts the corkscrew through his chin. He's like, all right, add 9 seconds or whatever. This guy screwed up my timing.
He's like,
So he turns around and he goes to continue on with the scene, and that moron with the silenced weapon should have just shot him right. Why are you walking up to go? What are you gonna put a bullet
when you
behind
mentioned that before, I was going to say, how many times would this movie have just been over if someone's like, you know what, I'll just shoot this guy?
He
like
would've got up
like
and
we didn't
that's
talk. We didn't talk about the cop scene with the extortion at the restaurant. Like after they're in the car, it's like, all right, you're crooked cops, just shoot him. Like, what are you going to say?
Shoot him or just drive away. I'd be like, fuck this guy. I'd be like, I'm going back home.
Like I said, my whole thing is like,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, you know, this man's crazy when he's locking the door. You should have just shot him right then and there. Like, you could have figured at least one of you is probably going to die. You know, they probably didn't think all of you were going to die, but one of us is going down. This guy's going to take at least one of us out. Why would you even let it get to that point if you're, you know, in that group? Like, just fucking shoot him. You had the gun.
Yep.
It was a silencer. But I think one of the things that we forget, and I love the part at the end when he's done, after he's killed everybody, and then he goes and talks.
He sits down next to him like,
and he talks to Slavi, and he's like, you know, you're going to die, but she's going to live. And this is all over $9,800.
Yeah.
And he says it a couple times. It was like $9,800, but it was just like how it is. He's like, because your heart's beating 3 times as fast.
Yep.
But I thought it was really cool, and it just how much, like, dude, you would think would be going nuts, but he's just sits right down next to him, just talks to him like he's having a normal conversation, just like, you know, you're going to die.
Yeah, if we're going to talk about...
This is all on you.
Yeah, and just to go back, talking about Denzel and his plot armor, the other one that I thought was weird when he's in the money laundering plant with, I think the guy's name is Antonio. Looks like a Jersey Shore reject, basically.
Oh, God, yeah. Yes.
But, I mean, they all have their guns drawn on him, and it's like, yeah, he might kill the one guy, but you can all just kill him and make it over. But no, you're going to now get all screwed up. So. But again, it's the idea that it's plot armor. The main character can't actually die.
Yes.
So
he puts the guns as balls. He's like...
Oh, now we know he means... Well, actually, now that we know that, that's how the Russian calling card is. Well, the guy's now they know he's serious. So
so now we're serious. But and I like how the Nikolai goes back and he replays. He looks at the photos of each guy, how they got killed, and he's replaying how it happened. The gunshot, the corkscrews, the shot glass was a lot more. Way worse in the photo. You look at it like, holy fuck. Yeah. His eye is completely like it's shoved. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's a rough photo to look at. I've seen a lot of fucked up photos. I'm like, wow, that's pretty rough. The shot glass up into the eye did that. I'm like, okay, cool. And then the knife or what he did, and it was just. I like that.
It was so quickly, like three stabs, and it was like, what the fuck? But the cool thing about with Nikolai is like you could tell like he's on the same level. Because he's piecing it back together on like how it could have been done. You could see like he's a worthy adversary against Denzel.
Yep, yeah, that scene right there, it just brings it together. Like he's definitely, as you said, a worthy adversary. There's the antagonist, the protagonist that's going on. And I just want to harp on again, the cinematography on this was fantastic. I guess Fuqua learned a lot from Training Day, from the stuff that's going on. We didn't see a lot of that on the camera angles and the lighting and how he zooms in on the eyes and slows up on the objects of how he's going to do the killing. Because it happens throughout several times of the movie. And
there's a scene we didn't talk about when the assassins go to his apartment. It might have been referenced here and there, but you can see, because he keeps focusing on where the hidden cameras are, basically, and it's like shooting around from one spot to the next. Then it goes to Denzel, who's watching from the apartment away. So you can see it kind of jumps around a lot there, too. Very similar to when they're basically investigating what's going on in the office of the restaurant.
Yeah, I like that. Again, like that's something you don't really see in the films, and how, because it's playing on Denzel Washington's character of what's going on and like what he's thinking and what. So it's like what he would see as showing it through our eyes. So that's why I thought that's one of the reasons why it was such a good film, because it's just the cinematography alone and how it was done. And then, as Nick said, he didn't realize, he didn't hear the music, but you kind of do, but it blends in so well with the rest of the scenes and the acting. Just like, you don't notice it, but it's actually really fucking good music. If you go back and listen, I had to stop someone.
Actually, when Nick brought up that Moby song, I was like, oh, this song sucks. This is what's playing during the climax.
Listen, I'm not going to fucking tell Alexa over here, Alexa, play the shitty Moby song. But for some reason, it goes well with the scene and how it is.
I actually like, when you talk about, it's not really the soundtrack, that creepy Swan Lake version that plays on the music box when he's with the one hooker he strangles to death. It was so creepy listening to that song through like the music box. Basically, I thought that was a nice touch.
So
Actually,
I didn't even notice that.
all right, well there you go.
I didn't even notice that.
All right, Nick is tone deaf, ladies.
I had my TV up to like 60 watching this movie.
That music box is definitely playing when he has it out on the table. So
Yes, it was, and he's just asking her, and he just fucking just strangles the bitch.
No.
So, no, don't do. Have some water. Anyway, so that's that. So obviously we got the best scene was that opening killing scene. Now let's move on to the best character Randy Watson award. Honestly, if Denzel Washington's a star, you have to give it to him. But Nikolai, Teddy, whatever you're gonna go for him as a villain, he's fucking good. He's a great antagonist to him. Not a lot of like, in a sense, lines from him, but just the way how he's like so calculated in the same way. So calm, everything he does.
Like his mannerisms and stuff like
exactly. And then when he's on the phone with the actual boss, what was the boss's name again?
it's Pushkin.
Pushkin. And then you see him in his apartment. He's the shirt's off now, showing the bravado, being like he has all these fucking badass tattoos. You're like, okay, all right, you know what? I think I like this guy with that weird fucking pencil dick haircut, like a fucking peck. So you gotta throw it back to Ghostbusters, right? Episode 1. Check it out. So that's who I think what it is. You got what do you got, guys? Anyone else?
I'll just say, just because he said it, that's the same character I had for. And again, we're doing the same thing. If we're not going to pick Denzel as the star, I mentioned it before. I really like Nikolai. Has a lot of great dialogue. He's a good foil for Denzel's character. Obviously, they both respect each other. They're both very similar in how they go about things. They understand each other. And I like the villains who are kind of more like understated. They're more quiet. We kind of talked about with Training Day that we kind of like Smiley because he's the one who's just sitting there letting everyone else talk. He's the one who's in charge, though. And here, I mean, when we first meet Nikolai, he's not doing a lot. He's just sitting there talking, saying, you guys suck. I'm taking over. The guy tries to yell at him. He's like, no, you're incompetent. You don't know what you're doing. I'm still taking over. There's a lot of like kind of like movie villains where they're kind of like outlandish. They yell. They do a lot of things. And you don't see that with him. He's always calculated, knows exactly what he wants to do. And it's why he's a good foil for Denzel's character who's the same way.
They always go for like that long-winded talk and everything. Yeah. But I like with the Little John, and he's talking about, we knew you were going to take 10%, whatever, because you're fucking scumbag. You're cheating motherfucker. And then this, it was so... I'm like, this is good. I like that. The way how he was going about how he's explaining everything but being condescending, like, we know. So, fuck off. So, anyone else? Brian, what do you think?
So, I think this, like, movie is actually, like, really well acted.
So,
like,
Ralphie? Ralphie.
No.
Okay.
No. But, like, everybody in this movie kind of does a really good job. Obviously, Denzel would be my number one choice. Number 2 would probably be Nikolai. Even though Little John doesn't really do much, like... When he goes on like his like little monologue that he has talking about the Russians and all that stuff, I was like, fucking love this guy. He's like, fuck you Russians, and how he
want
goes
a piece of American pie, you cheating motherfuckers come here.
Yeah, the way he goes off on him.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
It's a shine box. I'm sorry. It's the wrong one.
But just the way he goes off on him, I was like, you know, I thought that
good
that
for
was,
you. You're dead, but good for you.
Yeah, but like I mean, that was
Did
really...
he die? He got the shit.
Yeah, he got
his face.
he got beaten pretty bad. I don't think he
dead,
died.
He's probably
but,
eating on a tube for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that was really well done. But then also at the same time, like a dark horse, Susan. She's only in it
5 minutes.
5 minutes, but her lines are very, very powerful.
Susan.
You know, and you know, it gives you a big background of who Denzel is. I think those would be my top choices. But I'm going to obviously go Denzel because he carries the movie and, you know, 70% of the dialogue. But just to be out of the box, I would say Susan.
You know what? I do like Susan because you get that somewhat grounded aspect when you're talking. When he has scenes with Susan, you get more of his background. And I guess I don't want to say like a human or like a caring aspect because you see like the love that they have for each other as it goes beyond
he just
handler and stuff
her.
like that. Yeah, the respect,
so much,
it's there.
like,
and then the fact that, you know, because she obviously had him over the house, the husband knows who this guy is and how upset she was when they thought
he was dead.
But and she said, anyone who can get out is this motherfucker right here.
Yeah.
So I got it. So Nick, what do you think?
I think I'm going to keep it simple and say Denzel.
Man, I thought you'd go for Ralphie. Honestly, you know what? My other opinion, I thought you were going to go for what's her face? Terry. What name is she going to? Elena, stuff like that.
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Chloe, yes.
Man.
I remember who was it? Was Shane that said one of the why don't you go for the strong female character? Was there?
But she got the shit kicked out of her, so that's not a strong female character.
But the ironic thing is,
we didn't see
she's actually
awesome.
like a martial artist. So like,
Is she really?
Yeah, she's in the like kick-ass movies, and
She is.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
she is. She's
Like,
the one that's the
she's
daughter.
like legit, like knows all that stuff. But
She actually trained really quick, a little BTS.
Well, after she got beaten up in this movie, she's like, I need to learn martial arts. I'm just kidding.
For that movie, she trained with Jackie Chan stuntman for like several months before it happened to do all stunts in that. Anyway, so we got it. So it's a couple difference between for Randy Watson award. We got 3 good contenders. Now, Adrian Balboa, worst character. I'm just gonna say Slavy, the Russian pimp. He beat the fuck out of her. He's a scumbag. You know, he got a pimp. He got that's called a stable horse skater. Fucking other guys, right? There's another podcast we did. Great movie. Fuck, these 2 guys don't like him. Anyway, I think you guys want to decide what else you want to throw out there.
I think the other guy, the one where he holds him to the gun to the nuts.
Oh, Antonio. That's who I was going to say.
I think he was the worst one. Like
just because he looks like a Jersey Shore reject.
Antonio,
I'm looking
the guy
at him
who's,
like
holds all the money.
At the money laundering plant.
I'm like,
he was the worst. 'Cause I was like, this guy doesn't. He just looked like he was coked out of his mind. I'm like, this guy's supposed to be like ahead of all this. Like, no fucking way.
He doesn't look Russian. He looks like he's a reject from Club Bamboo at Seaside.
Yeah, they outsourced that one.
But Slavy,
You come here.
But like, I actually don't mind Slavy's role. Like he plays the role what he's doing, to perfection.
So I guess I'm gonna go out on a limb and be the dick and say it. Nobody's gonna say Ralphie.
Ralphie?
Really?
I didn't like his. I wouldn't put him down as the worst, but
he wasn't the worst, but it was just.
Listen, he goes to help his mom.
I'm gonna run to the fuse box.
I thought for sure when they showed the fire, I thought for sure they were going to pretend that Denzel was going to be like, "Did you do this just to get out of taking the test?" Basically, obviously, it played into the extortion thing later. But I'm like, "Oh, Ralphie did this on purpose because he doesn't want to, do the security guard test and all that." But then you find out later. But yeah, I didn't like him that much either. I don't know if he's the worst character, but
for me, he was the worst.
Who needs flavor?
But he fucking got him at the end. $1.90 my ass.
Okay.
Got him.
All right, so the Jersey Shore reject.
That's who I'm going with.
All right, so that seems to be Adrian Balboa. I don't
He
know
can
what the
fist
fuck
pump his way to the curb.
I got you. So, you know what? Let's take a quick break right here, and we'll come back with a little BTS behind the scenes, and then our favorite question of our RB2 podcast, Reels, Booze, and Bros, and that's it. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. The answer's nothing. I have no feeling about you one way or the other. You're like lint or a bottle cap. You're just a thing to remove. Okay. Reels, Booze, and Bros. RB2. We are back, and we're going to finish it off with a little BTS and our favorite question we asked for this podcast. So I'll start it off. BTS. Denzel Washington's first franchise trilogy movie series. He hasn't done anything other than, again, so there's an Equalizer 2. And then this is the first one, Equalizer. He never done anything besides that. He always had one and done, as I like to always say, according to Zombieland. And now, next one, parts of the film. That was bad. Okay, so parts of the film were shot at an abandoned Lowe's store in Haven Hill, Massachusetts, which is the home mart. Wow, no surprise there. So here's something interesting. Gerard Butler was considered for the lead role of Robert McHale. Oh,
it's okay. McCall.
I'm sorry, McCall. Fuck out of here. All right, listen, I had a couple more beers than expected during this break.
That was the Spartan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Gerard Butler,
yeah,
that
300.
was... Yeah.
That's him. Okay. As of 2021, Denzel Washington and Antoine Fuqua's second film together. The other 3 being Training Day 2001. Once again, we did that 2 episodes ago. Go check it out. Then in the Magnificent Seven in 2016 and the Equalizer 2 in 2018 following after this. So they teamed up for a couple more films on that. That's what I got for BTS. There's a couple other stuff, but not too much. Kev, you got something on there?
Well, no, the only thing, you mentioned Gerard Butler as a possible role for McCall, but I saw Russell Crowe was also considered as well. And I think the movie is better with Denzel as the lead.
Yes.
But I think Russell Crowe could have done, this is around the time that Russell Crowe does The Nice Guys. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he
With
basically
Is that with Ryan Gosling?
yes,
Ryan Gosling.
where he basically plays like
Very
a
good,
detective. It's a funny movie too.
It was a lot better than I expected.
He's kind of like
movie.
the tough guy of the detectives. It's kind of weird trying to consider him
But
the
I
same
don't
role.
see him more of a badass like Denzel Washington. Him doing like the stopping of like looking at the eyes and calculating, size everything up.
I think he could. Russell Crowe's a pretty weird guy. At least South Park has led me to believe that he could be kind of strange guy, I guess.
On the boat,
Beautiful Mind, wasn't
Yes,
that?
he was in that also, and he was in Gladiator.
I don't think I've
too,
ever seen A
so,
Beautiful
yeah.
Mind, to be honest. No, I have not seen A Beautiful Mind. So
It's okay. It's a good movie, but it's nothing.
I
it's
saw the
nothing
first half, and then I believe Shane ruined it for me because I never saw the second half, so it was his revenge on me.
okay, thanks, Shane. What's up, man?
Right, but yeah, I think, like I said, it's better with Denzel, but I think Russell Crowe at least could have pulled it off.
Okay.
But that's
I'll take
what
your
I
word
feel.
for it. I trust you. Anyone else got BTS? Brian, Nick, what you got?
You know I ain't got nothing.
The only thing that I saw was that Denzel brought along Fuqua for this movie. Like, he suggested him as to be the director for the movie because I think they were having a tough time finding one. So then I guess he suggested him. And
Yes, they were having a tough time finding someone for directors. So they
it
brought
worked
him.
out. But like Denzel's like only did this out of like contractual obligation.
Actually, yes, he did add a contractual obligation to what he had happening going on with whatever studio at the time, and also most of the background for his character he invented, the OCD, everything that's going on. 'Cause they had nothing going on. They're just like, this is what it is, and let's just go with it. So this is all him. Hence why he makes his character so damn good. He put everything into it, and it's so believable. Just like how he put everything in Alonzo, everything in Creasy. Now it's in McCall, Robert on this one. So that's everything for BTS. So now on to our favorite question on this podcast. Can The Rock make this movie better? Anyone want to chime in on this?
I don't know if it makes the movie better. It's a scene we didn't talk about. The guy who sits in the restaurant.
So The Rock is a prostitute?
No, so the guy who comes in that was supposedly working the power lines. Just replace that guy with The Rock. Your hands look a little soft for someone who works with electricity all day.
That's true. Is it only you?
Does it make it better? No, but I don't know. But it's still, it's just you? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I do like that scene though. That is
That's a good scene, yeah.
Yep. He pulls out with like the Mac 10 and he just shoots him in the
I have to imagine sticking a knife in an electric outlet will probably electrocute you as well. That would be my guess. But hey, it's the movies.
But he maybe cauterized his wound a little bit. So
That was after.
it was after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually got grazed by the bullet from that Mac 10 that shot the guy in the foot. Okay, so no, The Rock can make this movie better, but a cameo appearance as
Ralphie.
Imagine $1.10 in my ass. He's just trying to
pretending he can't actually pick
him up.
Pretending he can't pick Denzel up by the legs and swing him around a few times.
It's like, Ralphie, come on,
I can't do it.
You want to flip this tire 1,000th time.
You want to cut weight to be the security guard?
Denzel looks at him and says, "You
have
can't."
to change the story a little bit, or put him in a fat suit. One or the other.
Denzel looks at him and says, "You can't have that chip." The Rock just beats the shit out of him. Like, I'll eat whatever I want. Back off, man. I'm starving.
I'm sold. All right, so on to the next one. Should there be a sequel franchise TV series? Obviously, there was a Equalizer 2. There was a TV series back in the day. You know what?
There's a new one.
A new one with Queen Latifah starring.
Fucking out on that.
God. I haven't watched it. I'm
gonna miss the Equalizer.
I'm gonna tell you, I struggled watching an older Denzel Washington play this role about the realistic aspect of it. To watch an older Queen Latifah play the role, it's even harder for me to get into.
She's not even a physical actress.
Yeah,
no, she can't do shit.
So is she the equal? She's the Denzel.
She's the
Denzel character. Yeah.
But I don't think I don't think her background is as.
But she's gonna be hacking
violent. I think it's more on the networking and the people she knows. I think it's going to rely on that. I'm just totally guessing.
Oh, okay.
I just don't see how it's believable that it's.
I also don't believe she's beating anybody up.
Yeah,
so
I am never gonna pick it up. So whatever you say, I'll believe it.
All right, that's what I'm going to go with.
So she finds the people to beat other people up. Is that I guess? What you're going with?
I don't know.
Okay, interesting. All right. So anyone else?
But like Kev did just say, It was great in Wolf of Wall Street when they mention it.
I'm gonna miss the Equalizer. God damn it!
Who? What guy? Who is it?
So I married my cousin. I went else to marry her. All right. Anyway. All right.
What are these TNA bills?
T&E. T&E.
Reel it back in. Okay, so that's what we got for that. And now, final thoughts. Brian, I'll start out with you. Final thoughts on this movie and everything that we discussed tonight.
Well, like I said earlier, I think Denzel's really good in this movie. I do like this movie with how it's not like it's a different character from him, but like based on what we're doing with this trilogy of him showing him as a badass where he's just like calm, cool, calculated, and he just some of the stuff he does I think is just really, really cool, and I don't think we've ever seen him kind of do that sort of thing. So I thought it was a little bit different in his normal stretch of characters, but at the same time, he brings that Denzel to like every role where he just like commands the screen and you have to see like what he's doing. Like no matter what, like you're going to the movies to see Denzel. Like no matter what movie he's in, like if it's a dramatic role or he doesn't really do comedies, but he will command a presence, and it's just like you're gonna watch him, and usually whatever he does is really good to great. I enjoy it, and when it's on, I'm watching it, and there's certain scenes like, hey, he gets into that barroom scene, and you're like, all right, I'm definitely not turning this off now. So I'm gonna watch it, and it's good background stuff. That's it for me.
Okay, gotcha. So, Kev, what do you think about this? Your final thoughts?
So I like this movie also. It's a lot more fast-paced than Man on Fire. I don't think it's better than Man on Fire, but I think it still gets into the action sequence a lot more quickly. Like you had mentioned before, just looking at him as an actor, it's a weird role because he's this, kind of like super soldier hitman, basically. And you mentioned, we talked about before, he's basically smiling and having a good time as the role because he just knows that he's so confident that he's a step ahead of everyone. When he first meets the Russian, he's laughing, how'd you find me? No way you could have been here. Of course you should be here. Are you going to give me your business card? We just mentioned the scene before in the restaurant with the one guy with the power lines, and he just laughs like, so, anybody else coming? How you doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
So it's nice to see, like, he's a lot more confident in this role than he was in Man on Fire also as far as the character he plays, so... But again, he has that kind of range where you would watch it. It's believable, everything that he does. Like, you can believe that someone that has seen everything he's seen from his background, we find out later in the movie, would be this kind of, I guess, cocky that he knows that he's a step ahead. Everyone knows what he's going to do. So, again, we've seen this in this movie. We see it in Man on Fire. We see it in Training Day. He just commands every scene that he's in, basically, regardless of who he's in with the scene. So,
okay, sounds good. Nick, your final thoughts on this?
Meh.
And that's it. Meh.
It's all right. I don't know. I mean, I think Denzel's a good actor, but I just feel like ever since Training Day, it's you're getting the same thing, His early stuff I felt that you were getting different characters, whether it's He Got Game or John Q or Virtuosity. Like, I just feel like that, ever since Training Day, it's really the same guy. Maybe there might be like little different characteristics that are different, but he's really playing the same guy. And I'm watching Equalizer, I'm just like, eh.
See, watch Fences then. That came out in 2017 or 18.
Okay.
He was nominated for Best Actor, lost to Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea.
Okay.
But that's a movie where he basically plays a father figure in the movie, and it's a lot different.
I do think he's a great actor. I'm not trying to knock. I'm not trying to knock him as an actor. That's not what I'm trying to do.
I would say Fences is his best performance as an actor, like as far as how much range he shows in that role. It's really impressive.
Better than John Q and
and Virtuosity.
But also the other movie that came out was Flight.
Yeah, Flight is really good too.
I didn't see Flight yet.
Flight's good.
So that was another one. That was probably 2000. Just probably right around this time.
It was definitely before Fences. So 2015 or 16 probably.
Something like that. Yeah, and that was another one where I don't think he was nominated, but he had.
No, he got nominated for best. Best actor. Excuse me.
So yeah, obviously, like it's Denzel. Like he's gonna put a performance in every movie.
Right.
So, I mean, I get it. And some of the, like, if he's going to do, like, an action role, it kind of seems like he's playing the same character. There's certain nuances where they're a little different. But there's not many people who could demand the screen like he does.
No, I'm not trying to knock that on him.
No, I think that's what makes him so intriguing and makes him such a great actor. Where
Fight's actually before this movie, 2012. I thought it was later.
Oh yeah. Okay. But it's still one of those things like where what makes him so great is that like he demands like this screen presence, and I feel like usually the people around him usually kind of step up their game for the most part to be around him and act a little bit above their range of what they're normally doing. So they give them their best performances because they're like, hey, I'm working with one of the best guys possibly ever.
Yeah.
So I want to add, I'm glad, Nick, I'm glad you said you feel like it's the same character, because this reiterates my point from earlier on in the podcast. If you remember, so Alonzo...
movie within a movie.
Yeah,
within a movie.
yeah, you're right.
Well,
We did pick
since
these
Training Day,
movies,
right.
so
Singularity.
So let me explain this again. So Alonzo was shot up 210 times. We didn't count all the bullets, but
Who's
we
counting?
believe it's around there. But were they real bullets? But then he was just shot, and then they grabbed him. That was it.
We can rebuild him.
We have
The technology.
$100. So, but then we didn't. There was no pronouncement saying he's dead. There's nothing else going. There's no doctor saying, you know what. So they may have grabbed him, put him somewhere else, brought him to where he needed to be. Then he realized, man, I'm pretty. I should need to get my shit together. I'm gonna go and become something different. Goes through training, does everything else, does some jobs, goes through some crazy shit along, becomes Creasy. Realizes he can form a relationship again with this young little girl. He wants to live just for her. Kills everyone else. Supposedly gets shot, but he's in the car and all you see is Creasy holding on to that necklace, and then his hand drops. No one pronounces him again, and that's it. So
he
from
finds
there,
his new woman. He moves on from Eva.
he's
right?
like, you know what? I think I found. I'm gonna try to go. He leaves from there, finds the love of his life, and then let me backtrack, because he was a Marine in Man on Fire and the Marine in this movie previously. Coincidence? I think not. So.
An LA City police officer was shot and killed serving a high-risk warrant near LAX this morning. So there's your pronouncement right there, Jay.
Yeah, but you know what? That's to fool everyone else, though, because I didn't see a doctor say this guy's dead.
In the third movie, he died of a car bomb, right?
Yeah,
he has a history of faking his death.
Are you allowed to fake your death more than once? Come
Yeah,
on.
motherfucker, if it worked once.
How many insurance policies can this guy possibly cash out?
And who's collecting?
Seriously, because he got two nice apartments.
It's Eva Mendes in the
over
first
there
movie. That's why.
in Boston. Yeah,
She's got to move out of the jungle.
Maybe it was Eva Mendes. He came back to and said, "You
They gave the kid English lessons.
Bro, you remember him, Alonzo Jr.? How much you hate him, you piece of shit." Listen. I'm just spitballing here, but it happens. All right. So that's what. Anyway, so that's my final thought. This is all interconnected somehow. I'll find out. We'll figure this out together. Give me your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it for this. This is for this podcast. The first trilogy we did of Denzel Washington. We started off with Training Day, brought it to Man on Fire, and we finished it up with Equalizer. All fantastic movies. Go watch them. If you haven't, watch them again. Listen to us. Tell all your friends. And continue. So what I got here next, so we decided we're going to take a quick little break from this little trilogy. We'll come back to it, but we're going to do a nice comedies. We enjoy comedies in here as much as we like it. This is the end. We're going to bring you Grandma's Boy. That's right.
Oh, man.
What's that say? High score? Did I break it?
Did I break it? What does that mean?
So Grandma's Boy, listen. So get on there now, start watching it, and listen to us when we release that next episode. And again, reelsboozebros.com, where you'll find out everything we need to know what's going on. And for anything else, any questions, you want to get in touch with us, all our social media is there. That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers. Have a good night.
I'll go to the loony bin with you, bro.